Is Vechain getting ready to continue its push to the upside? In this video, we're going to dive into the world of Vechain and specifically talk about the price action of the VET token. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With that said, done that the way, let's dive right into this chart and see exactly what is going on with Vechain and what might happen next. Guys, we're going to start things off with our daily chart. We're going to give the weekly a skip at the moment, but if you're ever in doubt, do make sure that you zoom out and really pay attention to what is going on with that weekly chart. But for now, we're just going to focus in on what's going on with the daily and the hourly. And honestly, guys, we're going to be talking about what progress is being made right now. We do have a cup and handle pattern, and I'll just demonstrate what that looks like right now for you guys. So basically, over here is when it started, which is basically the 4th of June. Okay, so we're going to go take that from the 4th of June. The top of the right-hand side of our cup actually comes over here on the 6th of September, and we go ahead and pull that down, and we have the bottom of our cup just here, right? So this is our cup, and then what we're doing is we're actually in the middle of forming our handle. We haven't actually completed this part yet, but it will be something like this if I actually go ahead and pull that down to there. Okay, so what we end up with is basically a cup and handle pattern. We have the cup just here, as you can see. Then we have the handle, which we're yet to actually complete the top of the handle. And then we'll breach this neckline and we'll push on up to about 22 cent. Okay, that's the target for the cup and handle. Now, in order to get that target, the easiest way of doing this is to basically go get a Fibonacci retracement tool, take it from the right-hand side of our cup or the top of our handle here. We're going to go ahead and just grab that right there and then go take it down to the bottom of our cup. Okay. This actually then basically gives us a 1.618 extension level, and it comes in at 22.1 cent, okay? And that basically is right in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab our horizontal rate, and I'm going to quickly mark that up just on here, and I'm going to make that green, so we know that's our price target. Then I'm going to go ahead and just delete that Fibonacci retracement tool. If I actually get the right one, bear with me one second. Let me just bring that back. I'm going to delete this one just here. There we go. Okay, so what we end up with is basically this cup here. Okay, the handle just here, and obviously this then gets that price surge up towards 22 and 22.1 cent. Okay, and now obviously progress on this pattern has been a little bit slow, but as you can see, we are forming this this cup pretty nicely. We are moving to the upside, but there's loads of resistance around this area. As you can see, this is an area that we consolidated on previously as well. Okay, and obviously you can see over this side, loads of consolidation around these key areas. So we are struggling to get our way through here, but things are definitely starting to play, starting to heat up a little bit, and we are moving quite nicely to the upside from this lower area that we were in September. Now, the stochastic RSI on this daily is overbought, and again, this isn't a problem. This is something that has been overbought for a while previously, but we could be up here for quite some time. We've only just re-entered this area after a small pullback as well. So again, not overly concerned about this, and again, the target is 22 cent, and we can get a lot of progress to go ahead and get that target achieved. Now, the cup and handle pattern, okay, is basically only 60 to 70, if I draw that out for you, percent accurate, okay, which basically means that we can deviate away from this pattern pretty quickly. Now, obviously, at the moment, it looks okay. It looks like we're still on track to actually complete this cup and handle pattern, but at any point in time, we could go ahead and invalidate it, right, and basically just deviate away from it entirely. Or maybe we just actually go ahead and just go much higher than that, right? Everything just heats up so nicely and just blast through all of the targets. So it's important that we acknowledge that ultimately cup and handles are only 60 to 70% accurate. It's a good pattern to kind of acknowledge, to understand what is there, and obviously to pay attention to. But it's not the only pattern that's also formed on our chart. Along with everything else that's been going on with the crypto space, these charts are looking incredibly bullish. We do have so other than the cup and handle, there is also, we have to acknowledge that there is also an inverse head and shoulder pattern, okay? And basically, if we actually take this to a left shoulder, the head just over here, the right shoulder, and again, this is not yet completed, and that would then basically show us an inverse head and shoulders that could basically then also push to the upside. Now, it's messy, it's not neat, because this left shoulder should actually have been kind of a little bit more up here really, but it doesn't quite align nicely. So it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. The cup and handle is a much neater example of that bullish sentiment to the upside, but it's also important that we don't just ignore the inverse head and shoulders and the target that is associated with that either. Ultimately, the patterns here are looking incredibly good, and there's also other patterns that are forming here as well. So for example, there is the dragon chart pattern as well. Okay, so basically you have the neck, the head, foot 1, foot 2, the hump is over here, foot 2, and then obviously you go up and basically over these particular areas here, and then you get this huge wave to the upside as well. So everything's looking incredibly good from several different patterns on the charts. That's important that we acknowledge exactly what is going on. Very good stuff going on with all these charts. There's very few charts that are not looking bullish right now. And in the case of Vechain, it's looking pretty good and for a healthy push to the upside. So with all that being said, it's important that we also check out the advice.io dashboard to understand exactly what is going on. Okay, and here we can obviously see that we have a B1 rating overall for Vechain. Now, for those who are unfamiliar, advice.io uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to help us understand the underlying value of cryptocurrencies. There's a link in the description down below. It is completely free to use, and you're going to get a lot more insight on your cryptocurrency. So I do urge you guys, do sign up and actually take advantage of this platform. You won't regret it, in my opinion. So for Vechain here, we have a B1 rating overall, but we can come down and we get a little bit more detail over what is actually going on when it comes to Vechain. We have a fear and greed index of B2. Now, this fear and greed index is Vechain's fear and greed index. The usual fear and greed index that we see across YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, etc. is the Bitcoin fear and greed index, and that is not overly helpful for your altcoins. So it's important that we obviously acknowledge that this artificial intelligence and machine learning is driving out a fear and greed index per coin. This means that you can understand the sentiment of your cryptocurrencies. And in the case of Vechain, we're actually at B2. That basically means we're pretty neutral. We're not greedy, we're not fearful. It's actually a pretty good place to be. You can see that we were in extreme fear and we've risen up a little bit, pulled back a little bit at the moment, but this could potentially turn greedy pretty quickly. The 𝗕𝗓 ratio is a rating of D. D is the worst rating that this platform can give. So the 𝗕𝗓 ratio represents liquidity. And so right now there are some liquidity-based problems for Vechain. Now that particular problem with liquidity is actually plaguing many different altcoins. It's not just Vechain that has this issue, and I still haven't got to the bottom as to what is exactly going on, whether a centralized exchange or decentralized exchanges are experiencing mass problems with liquidity across several altcoins, or whether or not there's manipulation at play. Ultimately, it's an issue with liquidity that could cause some issues with buying and selling depending on where you are in the world. So it's important that we acknowledge what is going on here with many of these altcoins in terms of that liquidity. But right now, Vechain has been performing okay considering this liquidity-based problem, but obviously it potentially could perform better if that problem was resolved. So whatever it is basically affecting that buying and selling of VET. Now, as we come on down, we have a Sharpe ratio. The Sharpe ratio is an A2 rating. The Sharpe ratio represents your risk-reward ratio. And basically, at the moment, this artificial intelligence and machine learning is indicating to us that the rewards outweigh the risks and that we might want to have some exposure to VET. And what we can see right now is we are well above the 50-day average on this risk-reward ratio, moving up nicely. This is pretty much a good indication of good things to come in this space. So the AI is indicating that actually some exposure to VET might be a good idea. And again, we take into consideration the fear and greed index at a neutral position. It means that you could potentially get VET at a pretty good rate. As we come on down, we do have moving averages. These moving averages are up there at an A2 rating. Again, the second best rating that this platform can give. So there's no issue with the averages moving along with the price of VET. That's looking pretty good and also working in our favor. As we come on down to the last metric here, this is your profitability, your return on investment, your ROI. This is the best it can be at an A1 rating, which is quite obvious when we actually break down the performance of VET so far. From March 2020 through to April of 2021, Vechain had grown over 18,000%. To put that into context, guys, Bitcoin only drove 1,600%. Ethereum only drove 5,100%. It has performed significantly better than the safest bets in the space that are so often referred to. So ultimately, guys, you would have performed better, or your portfolio would have performed better, had you invested in Vechain instead of either Bitcoin or Ethereum. It's an interesting thing to note because we do often hear in the space that Bitcoin and Ethereum are the safer bets. Now, obviously, that terminology kind of goes against the grain with me because I'm not a gambler, I don't bet. And ultimately, it's all about doing your own research and actually understanding the value of something before it actually pops to the upside. Now, obviously, 18,000% gains have gotten us to a pretty significant position with Vechain, but there are significant gains still to be made as the charts are indicating a $1.01 vet by the end of this bull run. So overall, everything on this underlying data is actually looking incredibly good, with only one issue being that liquidity, right? So as we come back to the charts, we obviously have an understanding that inverse head and shoulders, the cup and handle, the dragon chart pattern, for example, and a whole host of additional ones out there that are making these charts look incredibly bullish and incredibly ready to pop to the upside. That is more of a long-term observation. What about the here and the now? Well, this is where we jump down into our hourly view. This is actually where we talk about what's going to happen in the next kind of 24 to 48 hours, in our opinion. Right now, we can see all of these different resistance levels and support levels for Vechain. There's a lot of them in here, and this is basically because we were doing so much sideways trading, earlier in the year around these key areas. We found lots of areas of support and resistance. Right now, we can obviously see that yesterday we rallied up to 12.5 cent. This is where we actually found some resistance. We started to pull back down from our overbought area on our stochastic to the oversold area on the stochastic as we found support on 11.9 cent. Right now, things should be gearing up for a nice push to the upside, where we want to target pushing above 12.5, pushing up towards 13.2 before back testing on 12.5 as support. Okay, in doing that, we should be in a pretty interesting position to continue this growth to the upside overall, complete that handle on our cup and handle pattern, and or even potentially complete the right shoulder before popping up to 22 cent. Now, obviously, 22 cent is above the 618 on the chart and above the 702, but just below the 786. These are key areas on that Fibonacci retracement chart and tool that basically allow us to understand some interesting areas of resistance and support. This is where the main battle will occur. Obviously, we've got a bit of a battle to actually work out to how we get there, but ultimately on that journey to the upside, things are definitely looking pretty good. Obviously, we're looking to complete this cup and handle, and obviously we're going to be tackling a lot of these resistance points on that journey. So right now, my expectations are that we are going to push past 12.5 cent as we try to approach 13.2. From 13.2, I would expect a pullback just to find good support and then obviously correct our stochastic. From there, we'll then look to move up to 14.1 and then 15.2. And then obviously that would go ahead and complete our handle on about, if I get that right, 16.3 cent. From 16.3 cent, we should then be moving up nicely towards 22.1. And again, obviously, we're not talking about this happening very, very quickly. Those are the kind of prospects that we look long term. For now, in the next sort of 24 to 48 hours, my expectations are that we would be approaching that 13.2 with a back test on 12.5. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. Hopefully, you have found this video useful and informative. If you have, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.